1. After painstakingly building up 200,000 followers on an anime-related website, they'll wear women's clothing when reaching 200,000 followers. Fan reward flag I'd set was pushed to the top. But just as I was filming a dance video in a maid outfit, the dormitory door was kicked open with a bang. James, why the hell are you closing the door in broad daylight? Before the word door was fully out of his mouth, Henry, the school bully who entered first, froze in his tracks. Behind him were Theodore, the campus heartthrob, and Matthew, the academic god. All three of my roommates were there. This unexpected turn of events rooted me to the spot. Weren't they supposed to go watch Matthew's debate competition? Why are they back so early? It was 2 seconds later that I came to my senses. I grabbed my phone from the table in a panic, jumped onto the bed, and buried my head under the covers. My mind was filled with only 3 words. I'm screwed. 2. I still remember overhearing those 3 guys talking when I was registering as a freshman 2 years ago. The 3 of them had grown up together since childhood and were all natives of Beijing. They arrived at school earlier than me. When I was huffing and puffing, pushing my suitcase to the dormitory door, the 3 of them, probably just back from playing ball outside, were excitedly discussing the game they'd just had. That no. 6 from the School of Architecture just now. Not only did he act like a sissy, but he also kept rubbing against me instead of playing ball properly. I almost threw up from disgust. He looked like a gay. Oliver, you're something else, aren't you? You go for both genders. Oh, shut up, will you? You're so creepy. My hand, which had been about to push the door, suddenly froze. As luck would have it, I have a face that's been mocked for looking girly since I was a kid, and I like boys. Even before school started, I heard that Henry is the heir of the G group. Theodore's aunt is a school board member, and Matthew's family has intricate connections with the political circle. I can't afford to mess with any of these 3. From then on, being a timid and spineless guy, I tried my best to pretend to be straight for the sake of a harmonious dorm life over the next 4 years. Now that they've caught me wearing women's clothes, they won't think I'm a sissy and a pervert, will they? 3. I buried my head in the covers, trying to pretend it didn't happen by suffocating myself. But things didn't go as I hoped. The 3 guys at the door also snapped out of it. Henry, who was in the front, was so shocked that he dug me out of the covers, his voice as loud as if he'd swallowed 10 megaphones. James, hold on. What the hell are you wearing? A little skirt? A bow? Henry just wouldn't stop yapping. I was so panicked, feeling like I was being roasted over a fire. I was sweating buckets, and a faint blush crept onto my cheeks. Somehow, when I came to my senses, I was already in Henry's arms. Theodore then sat down on my other side and pulled me out of Henry's embrace. He gave a warm smile and covered my legs with a small blanket. James, why the sudden change in style? Are you lonely and looking for a girlfriend? Yeah, James, what on earth got into you to do this all of a sudden? Henry chimed in, as if he'd just realized something. Immersed in my embarrassment, I told them about the fan benefit thing. I eyed them cautiously and asked, you guys don't think I'm gross or a perv, do you? Henry raised an eyebrow and said, whoever dares to say you're gross, I'll kick their ass. Theodore smiled and ruffled my hair, showing his agreement with Henry. Even Matthew, who had been trailing behind and keeping silent, nodded expressionlessly and said, just be yourself. Seeing that there was no sign of disgust on their faces, I let out a small sigh of relief. It seemed the situation wasn't as bad as I'd thought. All my hard work in building good dorm relationships over the past 2 years hadn't been in vain. For, by accident, I saved and automatically uploaded a video of myself dancing in a maid outfit in a rush when Henry kicked the door open. When I realized it, the video had actually made it to the front page of the website. The view count of this single video had broken 1 million, and in no time, the screen was filled with comments. I somehow became popular online, but luckily, only half of my face was shown in the video, so my real life didn't change much. After this incident, the 3 of them got a bit closer to me for some reason. However, what was annoying was that each of them was overly enthusiastic and clingy. On Saturday, just as I finished packing and was about to go to my part-time job, Henry suddenly popped up, put his arm around my neck, and locked me in his embrace. Where are you going? You promised to watch me play ball this afternoon. I'm going to my part-time job. I struggled a couple of times but couldn't break free. I looked up at him, signaling for him to let me go as I was about to be late for my part-time job. He looked down at me, and somehow, a hint of darkness welled up in his eyes. "So, James, you're going to break your promise." His voice was soft, yet somehow it exuded a sense of danger. I couldn't help but cower. "I'll try to be back. Then James has to make it up to me." His voice was lazy yet indisputable. "Wear that dress for me again tonight." I gasped in disbelief. "Henry, I'm here." He let go of me and casually gave me a pat. "It's a deal. Don't even think about backing out, or else you'll face the consequences." 5. I still hadn't snapped out of it even after changing into my part-time work uniform. Why on earth does Henry want to see me in a dress? He clearly said that men who act like sissies are the most disgusting, not to mention a grown man wearing women's clothes. Just thinking about Henry's request, for the first time I hoped that my part-time shift could be stretched out longer and longer. Suddenly, my face felt a chill. I looked up and saw William, a schoolmate who was also a part-timer, pressing a can of iced coffee against my cheek. He raised his eyebrows and said, "What's up? You've been distracted all afternoon." I shook my head, took the coffee, and thanked him. We took a break to take a couple of sips of coffee. Then together we put the newly arrived goods in the warehouse onto the shelves. Suddenly, 2 girls came over, and one of them, blushing, nudged William. "Hey handsome, could I get your WeChat?" Hearing this, I looked at William with a teasing look and moved aside a bit, afraid of getting in the way of his potential romance. William seemed to glance at me, then smiled and shook his head at the girl. "Sorry, I've got someone I like." After working part-time together for 2 years, I just found out that he had someone he liked. Compared to those 3 guys in the dorm, I felt a closer bond with William, who also came from a small county and had a poor family background. He was one of the few close friends I made in college. So after the girl left, I leaned over, half joking and half nosy, to tease him. "Not bad, you. When did you get a crush? You even kept it from me." He ruffled my hair, a smile on his lips as he continued to sort the goods. "No need to hide from you. I'll introduce you to her in a few days." With him saying that, I had it on my mind. This was the first time my best friend in college was going to introduce me to the girl he liked. What did this mean? It meant he regarded me as his good buddy too. Thinking like this, I felt really happy. 6. After work, I took out my phone and saw 7 or 8 messages flooding into WeChat. They were all from Henry. "When do you get off work? The first half is over. Have you arrived yet? James. 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 Say something. James. James. The compensation will be doubled tonight." By the time I rushed to the basketball court in a hurry, the basketball game had already ended. In the huge venue, there was only Henry. He stretched out his long legs and sat casually in the rest area. Hearing the footsteps, he lazily lifted his eyelids. The next moment, he grabbed my wrist and started walking outside. I quickly asked, "Where are we going?" He looked back at me, a curve forming at the corner of his lips. To claim compensation, Henry took me to his off-campus apartment. He took out a handbag from the bedroom and gave it to me, then turned around and went to the bathroom himself. When I opened it, to my surprise, it was a bunny girl outfit. Is this something a grown man like me can wear? I don't know when the sound of water stopped, and Henry's voice came from behind me. "Why haven't you changed?" When I turned around, he was walking over lazily, wrapped in a bath towel. The impact of his good looks was too much. After all, I'm a young man full of vigor. I quickly lowered my head, not daring to look around, but he seemed completely unaware of his charm and actually leaned closer. His usually bold and sharp eyes and brows were drooping like a pitiful puppy's at the moment. "James, do you hate me?" I was quite astonished. "Why would you think that?" He pouted and moved even closer to me. His abs were practically touching my arm. "But you're not willing to wear a dress for me to see. You'd rather wear it for some strangers online. Look, you don't even want me to get close to you now. James, what about me bothers you? Tell me, and I'll change, okay?" Was the school bully's heart really that sensitive? I felt a twinge of soft-heartedness and gently explained, "I don't hate you. Then put it on and show me, okay?" Before I could finish, he looked at me expectantly. I closed my eyes, just this once. I picked up the handbag and went to the second bedroom, not noticing the triumphant smile in Henry's eyes. 7. "James, if you don't come out soon, I'm gonna go in, okay? Yeah. I've been in the guest room for over 10 minutes since I changed into this women's clothing. Looking at the outfit in the mirror, my face flushed right up to the tips of my ears. What on earth are these slutty clothes Henry bought? The door clicked open. The noise startled me. I turned around but tripped over the carpet and plopped down on the bed. Henry walked in, and the moment he saw me, a dark look flashed in his eyes. He stood by the bed, towering over me with the light behind his back. Suddenly, the air grew thin, and the heat on my face kept rising. He leaned down, his voice husky. "James, you're only allowed to wear this for me from now on. Got it?" My heart was pounding like a drum, and I nodded in agreement involuntarily under his gaze. He smiled in satisfaction but didn't straighten up, his eyes fixed on my lips. I subconsciously swallowed hard. Suddenly, a phone ring broke the abnormal atmosphere. Henry pinched the little rabbit ears clipped on my head a couple of times, then turned around and went out to answer the phone. My mind suddenly cleared. What on earth was that just now? I quickly closed the door and changed back into men's clothes. When I came out, Henry was also fully dressed. He said there was something at home that needed him to go back and deal with, and he might have to take a leave of 3 to 5 days. Hearing this, I let out a sigh of relief. Not seeing him, at least I could avoid that kind of out of control situation just now. Otherwise, if I stayed any longer, I was afraid I'd be so self-indulgent as to think he liked men too. When I got back to the dormitory, the room was pitch black. Then I remembered that besides Henry, who had asked for leave due to family issues, Matthew had also gone to another province to participate in a competition and wouldn't be back until a week later. As for Theodore, his daily activities were so colorful that it wasn't really surprising that he occasionally didn't return to the dormitory. In the middle of the night, half asleep, I felt an arm wrap around my waist and my body being pushed into the corner. The whole bed became crowded. I instinctively let out an annoyed grunt, but the arm around my waist tightened a bit more. It startled me wide awake all of a sudden. How come there's an extra person in the bed? I stiffly turned over, and Theodore's flawlessly handsome sleeping face appeared right by my pillow. What the hell is this guy doing in my bed? I gently nudged him and said, "Theodore." He didn't stir at all. I pushed him a bit harder and said, "Theodore, go to your own bed." He let out a soft and I thought he was awake, but the next second, he clung to me like an octopus, mumbling unconsciously, "Baby, don't leave me." The more I tried to pry his limbs off me, the tighter he held on. In the end, I was exhausted, while he just slept more soundly. Does this guy really have such a good sleep quality? The next morning, as soon as Theodore opened his eyes, he saw me, who had been held in his arms all night and hadn't slept a wink. He raised an eyebrow, then broke into a bright smile. "Good morning, James." I stared at him with dark circles under my eyes, expressionless. "Do I look good to you?" He pinched my cheek and said, "James, you're perfect in every way." Having been pent up all night, I wasn't the least bit intimidated at the moment. With my hair looking like a bird's nest, I glared at him angrily. "Why didn't you sleep in your own bed last night?" He furrowed his brows slightly, eyed my bed as if trying to recall something seriously. Then, with an apologetic look, he came to a conclusion. "I think I was sleepwalking. I was in a bad mood last night and had a bit to drink. I always sleepwalk when I drink. I didn't expect to end up in your bed." Suddenly, I remembered his sleep talking last night. That "don't leave me." So was it because he had a broken heart that he was in a bad mood and went drinking? But I've never heard that Theodore had a girlfriend. Well, that's right. I've never gotten that close to the three of them, so it's normal not to know. He sat up, eyes downcast, and said in a low voice, "I'm really sorry for disturbing you. Next time I drink, I'd rather sleep on the street than come back to the dorm." His sudden show of weakness made me unable to stay angry. So, with a straight face, I said awkwardly and in a low voice, "There are no insurmountable difficulties. Drink less." Theodore nodded, with his just woken up, confused yet earnestly obedient expression. He was as cute as a kindergarten kid. Looking at that face that seemed like a masterpiece of creation, I just couldn't stay mad anymore. That night, when Theodore stood by my bed again with his warm, sunny smile, I seriously doubted if he was doing it on purpose. "James, Fatty came to visit and accidentally spilled Coke on my bed. We'll have to squeeze in together tonight." I asked in confusion, "Doesn't Fatty never drink Coke?" Fatty, who appeared in our dorm out of nowhere, glanced at Theodore's face full of gentle smiles, and shook his head repeatedly. James, you got it wrong. Coke is my absolute favorite. Sorry, Theodore. I slipped up and now you don't even have a place to sleep. Theodore graciously said it was okay and pushed the chubby guy out, then looked at me with pleading eyes. I looked around the dorm and said, Henry and Matthew aren't here. You can sleep in their beds. No way. Theodore shook his head. Oliver has such a short fuse. If he knew I slept in his bed, I'd be a goner. As for Matthew, to be honest, I'm kind of scared of him. I looked at him speechlessly, and he stared back at me intently. I just couldn't take it. I gave in and quickly turned my head away. Just like that, for the next 3 or 4 days, Theodore clung to me, claiming that his new mattress and sheets hadn't arrived yet. From class to sleep, we were inseparable, and it gave me the illusion that we were dating. This is killing me. 10. A week passed. Henry and Matthew finally came back. When Matthew asked me if I wanted to go to the library with him, thinking I could get away from being glued to Theodore, I readily agreed. Inside the library, Matthew was looking at the computer intently, with 3 or 4 professional books beside his hand. When he felt my gaze, he would slightly turn his head and softly ask if I had any questions. Compared to Theodore and Henry, Matthew was the most normal one among the 3 of them. Although his attitude towards me had been cold and distant since we entered school, precisely because of this, I felt more at ease. It was already 10:30 at night when I came out of the library. The late summer evening breeze was slightly cool, making me feel refreshed. Matthew, who was walking beside me, suddenly said, James, with your foundation, you can definitely get a postgraduate recommendation if you work hard. But you're a bit weak in 2 professional courses. I'll teach you from now on. I widened my eyes in surprise. The aloof top student actually offered to help me study? Could there really be such good luck? I nodded like crazy. In my excitement, I couldn't help but grab his arm, smiling with my eyes curved to show my gratitude. Top student 1, you're so nice. He looked down at my hand, gripping his forearm, and the corners of his lips seemed to lift slightly. Then he said nothing more. When we got to the dormitory, Henry and Theodore were playing an online game. Seeing me come back, Theodore immediately turned off his phone and walked over, putting his arm around my neck with a big smile. James, you're finally back. We've been waiting for you to go to sleep. Henry, who was beside him, squinted his eyes and also put down his phone. What do you mean? You want to sleep with James? Before I could explain, the smile on Theodore's face grew wider. What's the big deal? In the past few days when you and Matthew were away, James and I slept together. As soon as he finished speaking, Henry's sharp gaze landed on me, and there was a hint of displeasure on his face. Matthew, who was tidying up things on the other side, paused for a moment, and the air around him suddenly turned colder. But Theodore seemed completely unaware and was still urging me to go wash up. Whenever 2 or all 3 of them were together, their auras would create a powerful sense of oppression, making me instinctively cower. Just like at this moment, I dared only to protest to Theodore in a whisper, I saw you got a new mattress. Don't even think about crashing on my bed. Theodore picked up his pillow from the bed and said with a helpless smile, Ah, James is so heartless. I didn't dare to look at the expressions of the others. I quickly finished washing up and climbed into bed. But when I got up and looked in the mirror the next day, I was completely stunned. There were actually a series of tiny red marks on my collarbone. 11. After figuring out who the culprit behind the red marks was in my mind, I told Matthew to go to the library first. Then I went to find Henry alone. His major was different from mine and Matthew's. When I got there, he had just finished class. Just as I was struggling with how to ask if he had secretly kissed me in the middle of the night, he was called out by someone not far away. It was Theodore, separated by trees and flower bushes. They didn't seem to notice me. I didn't mean to eavesdrop on their conversation and was about to leave when I heard them mention my name. Oliver, don't tell me you've fallen for James. Henry exhaled a smoke ring and raised an eyebrow. What the hell are you talking about? Theodore snorted. Cut the crap. I saw it all in the wee hours of yesterday. You were like a bandit, yanking open the covers, hugging him and smothering him with kisses. Never thought you, Henry, would ever steal a taste like that. So it was Henry who did it. My brows twitched. I couldn't quite put my finger on what I was feeling. Henry kept leaning against the railing, smoking. After a moment, he curled his lips and said slowly, just having some fun. Anyway, life is so boring. You can even sleep with him. What's wrong with me kissing him a couple of times? My heart suddenly sank. The 1 or 2 bits of intimacy and ambiguity from the past were like slaps in the face. It was a sign of my self-indulgent affection. Over there, Theodore let out a mocking laugh. Hey, who was it that said he was disgusting when they saw his photo back then? If it weren't for, I didn't hear the rest of the words. The sudden ringing of the phone brought me back to my senses, and I immediately fled in a panic. I was running, and my rapid breathing and pounding heartbeat showed just how pathetic I was at that moment. I finally understood that even though I had been carefully trying to please them for 2 years, the preconceived prejudice had always been there between me and them. To put it bluntly, being nice to me these days and teasing me were just the boring pastimes of these young masters. I'm so stupid. 12. After that day, I started leaving early and coming back late every day, trying my best to avoid Henry and Theodore. At the same time, I was also thinking about whether to move out of the dormitory and rent a place outside. As for Matthew, I considered avoiding him too. But when he solved my homework problems in just a few words and came up with 3 project plans in 10 minutes, I decided to keep relying on him. I couldn't punish Matthew just because of Henry and Theodore. So, apart from working part-time with William, I basically spent all my other time with Matthew. However, after class that day, Matthew was called away by the teacher. As soon as I stepped out of the classroom door, Theodore put his arm around me with a smile and led me into another empty classroom. Henry was leaning against the teacher's desk, playing with his phone with his fingertips, staring straight at me. He walked slowly towards me and reached out to put his arm around my neck. I instinctively stepped back, but ended up bumping right into Theodore's arms. The latter put his arm around my waist, pinched my earlobe, and his gentle voice carried a hint of grievance. James, why have you been avoiding me and Oliver these days? I lowered my eyes to hide the emotions in them and said, I haven't. Henry suddenly kicked the desk beside him. Then why have you been sticking with Matthew every day this month and ignoring us too? What are you making a fuss about? Can't you just be obedient like before? I suddenly looked up and stared straight at him. Obey what? Obey you when you play with me? Play with you? Where did you get that idea? Henry frowned in annoyance. I took a deep breath. I heard everything you said downstairs at the 4th teaching building that day. Henry focused and thought for a moment, and finally seemed to remember what he had said. He sneered. So, you think Matthew is a good guy? He put his hand on my shoulder and stared at me with deep eyes. This dormitory was originally meant to accommodate only 3 people. Do you think about why it's you and the 3 of us in one dormitory? Because Matthew specifically requested it. He said you looked like an easy target and it would be fun to live together. I was stunned for a moment and my face turned pale. I never thought that all of this was a deliberate arrangement. Seemingly noticing my really bad complexion, Theodore shot Henry a glare. James, we're not. So what? I interrupted Theodore, staring straight at the 2 of them. Is it such an honor to live with you guys? Just because you let me live with you, I should consider it a gift and be grateful for all the pranks you play on me? Yes, I may look effeminate and have a soft and cowardly personality. Even I actually like guys, but none of these should be reasons for you to mock me. That's it. I'll apply to change dormitories as soon as possible. I can't afford to associate with you here. Maybe they didn't expect me to say that. A flash of panic crossed Henry's eyes, and he reached out to try to grab me. Suddenly, the classroom door was pushed open. William stood at the door, looking at me and waving. James, there's a last-minute part-time activity today. Did you forget? I quickly ran over. Coming. I didn't care about their expressions. 13. I passed by the classroom and saw those 2 guys surrounding you. You seemed really reluctant, so I lied to you about a temporary part-time job. William said softly beside me. I shook my head, expressing my gratitude to him for getting me out of that situation. When he heard that I wanted to apply to change dormitories, he accompanied me to see the counselor. It was as if someone had tipped the counselor off in advance. After hearing my purpose, the counselor said there were no available dormitories for swapping. I thought it over, gritted my teeth, and decided to take on 2 more part-time jobs and rent a place near the school. Suddenly, William's eyes lit up and he said, "Actually, besides the part-time job at the trendy toy store with you, I also write some small software in my spare time. Since I often code until very late, I've rented a place outside. If you don't mind, you can live with me." I was taken aback and waved my hands repeatedly. How could I do that? He's working so hard at his part-time jobs to earn money. There's no reason for me to take advantage of him. He laughed heartily and said, "Don't be shy. I'll charge you rent, You can pay me back when you have the money later." After thinking it over with his words in mind, I thought it was feasible. So I decided to go back to the dorm right away, pack up my things roughly and move out. William was even more eager than me, shouting that he'd help me move. When we got back to the dorm, the other 3 guys weren't there. I didn't have much stuff, and it didn't take long to pack them up. When I saw the set of paintbrushes in the ink blue box on the table, my eyes paused. This was a birthday gift Matthew gave me a few days ago. That's right, no one knew my birthday, and I myself had almost forgotten about it. That morning, on his way to the library, he suddenly stopped. Then he took out the set of brushes from his backpack and handed them to me. In his eyes, which were usually as cold as ice, there was a rare softness in the gentle light of the morning sun. "I accidentally saw the drawings you made in your book. They're really beautiful. I thought you must like painting, so I bought this set of paintbrushes for you. James, happy birthday. Wish you peace and joy every year, and may all your dreams come true." At that moment, my heart skipped a beat. Matthew is really a well-mannered and meticulous person. Maybe that's why, seeing this set of brushes again now, my heart feels even more bitter. I didn't take it with me. 14. As luck would have it, when I was carrying my things to the dormitory building, Matthew happened to be coming back. Henry and Theodore must have told him what happened today. There was a rare look of unease in his eyes. "James, I'm sorry." I closed my eyes for a moment. "So, it was really your word that got me into this dormitory." His hand holding my arm flinched. "James, don't be like this." "Matthew, thanks for helping me with my studies these days." I forced a smile and thanked him. "But right now, I really can't get over being toyed with like a fool by them." After moving in with William, I never ran into Henry at school again. However, Theodore came to me from time to time to apologize and hoped I could move back. And Matthew still insisted on showing up around me every day. Except that our seats weren't next to each other. It seemed no different from when we used to go to class and the library together. On New Year's Eve, William suddenly said he was going to take me to meet the person he liked. The meeting place was still a fancy restaurant where you had to think about what to wear. It was clear how much William liked that person. He had hidden it well. A guy who never said a word to girls suddenly developed a relationship to the point where he could bring her out to meet his buddy. I remembered I had a shirt suitable for today left in the dorm, so I went back to the dorm to get it after class in the afternoon. But I didn't expect that Matthew, who should have gone home for the festival, was actually in the dorm. As if he had known I was coming, he quickly closed the door and hung a padlock on the bolt. Just like that, he locked both me and him in the dorm. 15. Matthew stared at me intently, making me feel a bit uncomfortable. "Weren't you supposed to go home?" He nodded, his eyes unblinking. "I was already on my way, but then I happened to overhear some news, so I had to come back." "What news?" I took a step back, feeling unnerved by his gaze. His eyes were serious as he took a step closer. Suddenly, he pulled out an iPad from behind his back, opened a folder, and showed it to me. "This is my medical checkup report, showing that I'm in good health. These are all the honors and certificates I've received since I was born. These 3 are the properties I own, located in Beijing and Hong Kong. I currently have around 7-figure liquid assets. I'll probably be in Beijing for the next 5 years, but if you want to go to another city, I'm willing to go with you." What? He rarely talked so much at once, and I was caught off guard. He looked at me earnestly. "What I'm trying to say is, James, I like you. I think with all these, I might just be worthy of you. So James, Could you give me a chance and let me be with you? I was stunned on the spot. I never thought that the cold and distant Matthew actually liked me. It took me a long time to finally speak in a daze. Is this some kind of prank again? A flash of guilt crossed his eyes and he shook his head. I apologize for the things I did that hurt you before. I admit that at first, I was attracted to your looks. After seeing your photo on the student information form, I wanted to get to know you, so I arranged for us to be in the same dorm. But later I found that you're hard-working, gentle and kind. On countless quiet nights, just thinking that you and I were in the same room made me really happy. At that moment, I realized that I liked you. I know my heart was despicable, but from beginning to end, having you in the same dorm with me wasn't because I thought you were easy to bully because of your appearance. Henry spoke without thinking, and I apologized to you again. I fell silent, and at the same time, I despised myself in my heart, because after hearing these words, I was shamefully tempted for a moment. Matthew was like the noble gentleman described in ancient sayings. He openly expressed his love and admitted his mistakes in front of me. But I shook my head. Sorry, Matthew, I can't agree. His shoulders slumped slightly. Then, with a lonely smile in his eyes, he said, "It's okay, but sorry, I won't let you go out tonight. I can't be magnanimous enough to watch you be with that guy surnamed he." I couldn't help but have question marks popping up in my mind. So he suddenly locked me up and confessed because of William? Seeing my expression, he understood in an instant. This afternoon, while accompanying my cousin and his fiancée to look at wedding rings, I ran into your roommate. He was also choosing engagement rings. He told the salesperson that he was going to propose tonight, and the other person was also a guy. He hoped for a more gender-neutral style. But that can't be me. Although I was shocked that William liked guys, I was even more astonished by what Matthew said. He nodded. But even if there's only a 1 in 10,000 chance it's you, I have to stop it. 16. After New Year's Day, I found another part-time job during the winter vacation. During the day, apart from working at the trendy toy store, I also had to work as a waiter at a bar in the evening. I wanted to move out from William's place. It's good that he doesn't like me. If he did, and I couldn't reciprocate his feelings while still taking advantage of him, I feel really tormented inside. Matthew somehow found out where I was working part-time. He followed me both during the day and at night. When I was at the trendy toy store, he would read books in the nearby coffee shop from time to time and also glance at me. When I was working at the bar, he would quietly sit at the bar counter and stare at me. Probably because his aura and gaze were so cold, it actually scared away many people who wanted to get handsy with me. After the winter vacation ended, I was finally able to rent a small single room. The days that followed were simple yet busy. I attended classes, took part-time jobs, and prepared for the postgraduate entrance examination and the recommendation for postgraduate study. Theodore would pop up from time to time and say a few words to me. Henry had been out of my life for ages. He probably found better prey. Matthew, on the other hand, still showed up around me every single day without fail. And I'd actually gradually gotten used to his quiet, unobtrusive companionship. That was until the list of students recommended for postgraduate study came out. I got reported. 17. I was reported for having an improper private life. My high school photos were anonymously posted on the school's official forum. The nightmare that had haunted me for most of my senior year of high school came crashing back again. It felt like I was back in that dark senior year of high school. Since my parents divorced when I was 6, I've been living with my grandma, depending on each other. This led to me developing a timid, cowardly, and somewhat introverted personality. So in high school, when that sunny-faced boy showed his affection for me, cared for me meticulously, and confessed his love to me, I fell for him. We secretly dated. On his birthday, he asked me to write him a love letter as a gift. I filled the paper with those sincere and passionate love words that I usually dared not say out loud. Then that piece of paper ended up in the hands of the boy's mother and on the head teacher's desk. That mother hurled the most insulting words at me. I looked at the boy pleadingly, but the boy lowered his head and he acquiesced to what his mother said. If it had ended there, it might have been okay, but his mom didn't just create a scene at school. She even went to my home while I was in class. She hurled insults at my grandma, saying I was a pervert who was seducing her son. That late autumn, when I was in my senior year of high school, my grandma was so shocked that she had a sudden heart attack and passed away. From then on, I was all alone in this world. I took a leave of absence from school. After more than half a year of adjustment, I finally got out of the shadow and joined a repeat class. I had to pull myself together. Even though I was a mess, I still desperately wanted to have a future worth looking forward to. But I never expected that this nightmare would be brought up again. Something I can't prove on my own. But I still tried my best to collect and organize evidence. However, within 2 days, I heard that the person who reported me had withdrawn the report on their own initiative. After that, I also heard that he was beaten up one night while walking alone. But at least, I managed to keep the postgraduate recommendation quota. Subconsciously, I actually wanted to share this good news with Matthew. But then I suddenly realized that Matthew hadn't been around me for several days. Had he finally given up? But I felt a bit disappointed, stuffy, and uncomfortable. Theodore jumped out to chat with me again. This time, his expression didn't have that standard smile like he was wearing a mask as usual. He let out a sigh and said, "James, we really know we were wrong. Won't you forgive us? I know you're angry, but regarding the matter of your postgraduate recommendation being reported, those two really helped a lot." I was slightly startled and asked, "Matthew and Henry?" He gave a helpless smile. Matthew almost dug up all the dirt on that guy's ancestors for 3 generations just to make him withdraw the report. As for Oliver, he learned about what happened to you in high school and felt really remorseful about his behavior. So he gave the jerk who reported you a good beating. Before I could process these words, Henry popped up from somewhere. He softened his tone, which was quite rare. "James, won't you move back? I said the wrong thing back then. I've never hated you, and I didn't mean to play with you. I just suddenly realized that I kept thinking about you, and it was a bit hard for me to accept my own feelings. But I didn't pay any attention to what he said at all. I was just thinking that since both of them showed up, why didn't Matthew appear? He had been missing for 5 days already." 19. I hung my head and walked towards the rented house. Unconsciously, I was thinking about what Theodore had said just now and all the little things Matthew and I had done together. It wasn't until I reached the downstairs of the community that I saw that familiar figure. Matthew was wearing a black windbreaker, standing tall and straight, looking at me intently. At this moment, without even thinking, I started running towards him at full speed. His eyes were gentle, and a faint smile played on his lips. "Congratulations on getting accepted for postgraduate study without taking the entrance exam." I pouted and suddenly threw a little tantrum. "You've been gone for 5 days. What are you doing here all of a sudden?" He explained softly, "My grandma was seriously ill and was admitted to the ICU. I went back home to take care of her. I sent you a WeChat message to let you know, but you didn't reply." I suddenly remembered that I had set his WeChat to Do Not Disturb, and every day I had been resisting the urge to open the chat box. I was afraid he wouldn't send me a message, and also afraid that, if he did, it would be something I didn't want to see. I thought of my own grandma, so I asked him, "So how is your grandma?" "The situation is stable now, so I came to see you." The tenderness in his eyes seemed like it could drown me. "James, I missed you so much." I stared fixedly at him. It felt like something in my chest was about to burst out. I took a deep breath and bravely spoke up. "Matthew, last time you asked me if I could be with you. If you still like me now, then my answer is yes." "Matthew, I think I've fallen for you." His eyes instantly lit up. Intense emotions were surging in his eyes. He grabbed my shoulders, and his voice became soft and low. "Sweetheart, help me take off my glasses." That "sweetheart" made my face flush and my heart race. Without thinking much, I dizzily and obediently took off his silver-framed glasses. In the next instant, a tempestuous storm of kisses landed on my lips. "You have no idea. I've wanted to do this for a very, very long time. I've finally waited for you." 20. After getting together with Matthew, at his strong request, the first person we told was William. He was always firmly convinced that the person William was going to confess to on that New Year's Eve was me, so he had to assert his claim. When William saw my hand interlocked with Matthew's, his eyes dimmed a lot. He forced a smile and congratulated us. Matthew looked indifferent, but his eyes sparkled with the childish pride of a winner. Then he gave me a look as if to say, "See, I was right. I never thought that, after the aloof top student stepped down from his pedestal, he'd be so jealous and childish." The second people Matthew wanted to tell were Henry and Theodore. Compared to Theodore's I knew this would happen expression. Henry's shocked and hurt look was way too genuine. He looked at me in disbelief. James, how could you like this cold-faced Matthew? Are you still mad at me? I really know I was wrong. I didn't recognize my own feelings back then and said some stupid things. But now I really like you, and only you. Matthew looked displeased and blocked Henry's view of me. Henry, watch what you say. It's no use regretting now. The things you did that disrespected James have already happened. Do you think an apology can make the harm disappear? Deep regret welled up in Henry's eyes. James, I'll wait for you. Wait until you break up with that cold fish. Matthew sneered. In your dreams. 21. After graduating from college, I found an internship during the summer that I could continue doing while pursuing my master's degree. I rented an apartment with Matthew and moved in together. I was excitedly planning my life as a grad student and intern, but Matthew started bringing up old grudges. He said coldly that Theodore and I had shared a bed for a week, and he wanted to do the same to make up for it. So that very night, he smoothly moved from the guest bedroom to the master bedroom, and we were truly living together. One day, with a gentle and harmless smile on his face, Matthew locked the bedroom door and then put an extra padlock on it. I just had a feeling that I was in for a rough night. He slowly took out a big bag from behind him and dumped all the contents onto the carpet. Then he walked slowly towards me. I heard you once dressed up in women's clothes and showed yourself to Henry? There are a lot here, sweetie. I want to see too. Looking at his smile, I quickly tried to run away. He took a long stride and blocked my way. His voice was coaxing and a bit pitiful. What? Other guys can see it, but your boyfriend can't. I got caught up in his logic and was thinking about how to refute him when he started to act all cute. I want to see. Please. Blushing and biting my lip, I nodded. Right then, Henry happened to call. When my phone rang, I quickly reached out to hang up, but Matthew stretched out his long arm and mercilessly answered the call and put it on speaker. Henry's loud voice came through the receiver. James, if Matthew is mad at you because of the cross-dressing thing, he's not worth it. I'm not like him. I've been waiting for you, as long as you're willing to turn back. James, I really like you. James, are you listening? Matthew suddenly hung up the phone. Dark shadows swirled in Matthew's eyes. He's waiting for you. Are you going back? Do I want that? Look at the situation now. Do you think I dare to take it? I shook my head with tears in my eyes. He made no attempt to hide the intense possessiveness in his eyes and smiled with satisfaction. Then he gently kissed me and said, "Good baby, remember, we have to be faithful to each other. James, I love you, forever and ever. Stay with me." End of the main text. Extra chapter Henry's story. That morning, downstairs of the 4th teaching building, Theodore looked at me teasingly. Hey, who was it that said he was disgusting as soon as they saw his photo? If Matthew hadn't been dead, set on having him move in, could you have kissed the person he liked behind Matthew's back? I felt a bit uncomfortable at that moment. Although James was arranged to move in by Matthew, there was no exclusive to Matthew label on James. So why is it called kissing the person he liked behind his back? Why not say I like James too? Wait a minute, do I like James? This sudden thought startled me. I've always considered myself a straight guy. How could I possibly fall for a man? No way. Absolutely impossible. And to make matters worse, Theodore was fanning the flames. Back then, Matthew saw his photo and decided to put him in our dorm. You were unhappy about it, saying he was so effeminate he seemed gay. Now you're probably secretly hoping he is, right? I was a bit annoyed and then remembered that he'd even slept with James in his arms for a week. So I sneered, "Don't you like him?" He nodded. To be honest, I really don't. But seeing that both of you like him, I was curious and wanted to give it a try. Hearing him say that, I felt a bit unhappy inside. What was Theodore up to? James wasn't a plaything, and he was talking about being curious and giving it a try. Unexpectedly, because James had been avoiding me for a month, I got carried away by my emotions and actually said that I was just playing around with him. I even blamed him for not being obedient. I started avoiding James too, but found that the less I saw him, the more I missed him. By the time I finally understood my own feelings, that damned Matthew had already succeeded. I was so angry, but I thought that James must have had a moment when he was attracted to me. As long as they're not married, I'll be able to steal him away someday. Watching me hopping mad every day, Theodore laughed heartlessly. Sometimes he'd also help stir up trouble with me. He deliberately said to James in front of Matthew, "James, Matthew is so clueless. If you get bored with him, you can consider the two of us." First, I was quite happy that Theodore said those things, thinking it should stir up trouble between Matthew and James. But later I realized I was being stupid. Their relationship just got better and better. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. No way, I'll get rid of this habit of being mean-mouthed and stubborn. Author, you have to compensate me with a wife.